I want to echo what Tim, John, and Susan also said in appreciation. This is a field, public media, that from its inception of educational television has valued research, and it's wonderful to work in that kind of context where research is done on efficacy and then it's used. The first study of Sesame Street's effectiveness by ETS came out the year I was born, in 1970. And that leads me to another appreciation. It's great for me to be involved in this research because I grew up as a beneficiary, especially of the ministry of Fred Rogers, who really saw that this was a medium becoming more and more ubiquitous, and he really wanted to find a way, to reach out to people, to touch them and teach them about relationships and about what it means to be a human being. And so I really appreciate that, and so it's really an honor to be part of this for that reason as well. So what is the Ready to Learn initiative? It is a cooperative agreement among the U.S. Department of Education, PBS, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And it was awarded through the Department of Education's Ready to Learn initiative, which has been mentioned. It started in 1994 as a series of 5-year agreements. The focus is on promoting literacy outcomes for children 2 through 8, and it has 2 broad components. There's a programming component for developing digital content in the area of literacy, as well as an outreach component. And KQED has been an integral part of the outreach component, which really has a focus of I would call it, organizing community networks and events like this for promoting literacy and imagining ways that the digital content resources of the program can support that. The current study that I'm going to report on today focuses on a key premise of the Ready to Learn initiative. Susan framed it as Literacy 360. Susan Newman calls it media synergy. And it's the idea that the different forms of media can complement each other. We learn through different modalities. So we need to hear things, we need to see things, we need to touch things. And so media can actually complement and add to learning as opposed to be subtractive. And so in the context of media synergy, what we did was build a 10-week intervention that I'll describe in a minute that takes advantage of that. It's not just digital literacy clips. It's a set of hands-on activities, professional development, and the like that all work towards a set of core literacy goals. So briefly, an overview of the study. This was a randomized control trial, meaning that a number of classrooms were assigned at random to participate once they had volunteered to either implement and have their children study a 10-week intervention or to a comparison condition that also got a media-rich intervention but was in a different area of science, so not in the focal area of literacy. We drew on literacy digital content from Superwide, Sesame Street, Between the Lions. It's about 400 children, 47 different centers in 80 preschool classrooms, primarily in the Bay Area and the New York area. The focus was on early literacy skills such as alphabet knowledge and letter-sound correspondence. And we wanted to make sure that the classrooms were comparable with respect to their literacy environment. And so that was a variable that we considered as well. So this shows a bit of a schedule that we recommended for the particular intervention. Over the course of 10 weeks, participating preschool teachers enacted this media-rich intervention, provided them with about 25 hours of program activities. These were not intended to replace their regular literacy curriculum, but to supplement it. Depending on the activity set on a particular day, they could spend between 20 to 60 minutes, about 4 times a week, engaging their students in activities. Some of the activities were hands-on, and others required a DVD player, a monitor for viewing, and a computer for gameplay. And they developed these the core skills of letter naming, letter sound, and knowledge of story and concept prints. So in keeping with earlier studies, though, that indicate children learn more when adults view children with them actively, the curriculum called for early childhood educators to engage children in active co-viewing. The video from the 3 programs was the anchor for hands-on and teacher-led intervention activities. We did show some entire episodes of Superwise, since this is a narrative show, to retain the power of learning from narrative. And segments from Sesame Street and Between the Lines dealt with target skills. The online games provided some additional support for the intervention by targeting the same particular literacy skills. And the sequence gave the children multiple opportunities to develop and practice vocal skills, because practice and repeated practice is so important. So review and repeated viewings occurred on consecutive days over the course of the intervention. So skills introduced as part of the initial viewings were reviewed in the following weeks. This is to show you that this certainly was not just about digital content. The centers participating in the literacy intervention received teachers' guides containing daily scripts and 10 weeks of activities, as well as a number of manipulatives you might find in any literacy curriculum, like magnetic letters, clay, pointers, alphabet charts, and letter and word cards. Teachers received 5 picture books to use to explain concepts of print and emphasize oral language. They read each book twice to the children during the 10-week period, and 4 of the 5 books were featured in animated video segments as well, displaying the book's text during focused viewing experiences. The 5th book, an alphabet book, was intended to strengthen alphabet knowledge. So to increase the depth and quality of implementation, teachers received ongoing professional development from those people back in the back table there, and a number of others. It began with a 2-week orientation led by a coach to familiarize them with the materials and some key elements of the intervention. But after this initial training, coaches provided on-site support that included examples of good teaching practice, observing and assisting teachers with implementation. Coaches made about 8 visits to each class during implementation, with the average visit being about 2 hours long. And between the visits, coaches provided support by telephone and email. And the goal of the professional development was really to help support implementation of the curricular activities designed. So, what were the results? On the left, you see pre-test scores in each. The green is pre-test scores in the literacy, and then the comparison curriculum on the right, and in the post-test you see in the blue. So relative to controls, the literacy curriculum students outscored or outgained the children who received the curriculum in the science condition on uppercase letter recognition. Also for letter sounds. Children, knowledge of letters and children in their own names. So this is the first thing kids tend to learn, is the letters in their own name. And also on impacts in story and print concepts. So all of these are statistically significant results, and they're very large by standards in educational research. So from our point of view, one of the things that these study results do is support a key direction for policy encouraging the integration of digital media literacy content and games into the preschool curriculum. The use of content familiar to children and caregivers on its own is probably unlikely to develop young children's skills, but it has the potential to do so when in the context derived from research on teaching and learning in the ways we're supported here. We also think that what's really critical is this combination of professional development with content that's freely available in children's homes that's proved to be effective in this case in helping to close learning and achievement gaps. We do think some additional research is needed for other key literacy skills like comprehension and also in other content areas such as science and mathematics. Regardless of the outcomes of this additional research, this study does suggest that public media programming